as long as then the local governing bodies or the local clubs or whatever can find some way to build upon any positive momentum from the big stories of the headline players. But if you've got a few headline players in your Italy side or your USA side or whatever it might be, and then you take sensible steps to build off that, and I think it's the right way to go.
That's it. Before we move to the...
I'm sure he won't not be committed at all as well when he actually...
No, he'll play hard. He's an honest pro, isn't he? Before we go to the end, finally, Hull FC announced this evening, about 15 minutes before you got here, Mark, that they have signed both forward Mickey Payet and the winger Beretta Faraimo for next season. Beretta Faraimo is a USA international, New Zealand of birth, plays for Parramatta currently, and is quite the physical specimen out on the wing.
Right, well, Payet had been...
moved for a while,
I'd seen that was expected. But interesting stuff. What sort of deals do we know?
I didn't read much more into it than that because I just saw it flash up as I was kind of scrolling through Facebook and getting ready on that. So you'd have to check the Hull FC Facebook page to get greater detail on that. But I just noted their names down to add into the news, Mark. And finally, England pushed hot favourites France all the way in last Friday night's wheelchair Rugby League World Cup final in Perpignan before losing 38 points to 34. So valiant effort from the English.
Yeah, it was very much right at the end of the game that they lost it as well. So it's unfortunate that because they were not they got battered like a week or so before earlier on in the group stages of the tournament. So by the French. So. They obviously improved as the tournament went on, so unlucky there,
and just one other final line to bring you, just some congratulations to the Bradford Bulls women's side who won their Challenge Cup, beating Fevlines 50 points to 16, I believe, at the weekend. Right, that is the news taken care of. Let's take a look back now at the Challenge Cup semi-finals. Okay, so to the Challenge Cup semi-finals then, and it was Hull FC 43, Leeds Rhinos 12 over in Doncaster in front of 14,526, refereed by Phil Bentham, Mark.
Yes, and we start with Aidan Stalker. He says, "Now then, gender-neutral budgies, that was a very enjoyable game. The stadium was the perfect setting for it with a wonderful atmosphere. Hull looked like a side who just needed to regain their confidence, and a beautiful forward pass set them off. Callum Watkins could learn something from Albert Kelly, who was getting better all the time. Watkins is still the same as years ago. Hull are starting to believe again."
Dr. Bob Phillips says, "Well, Hall in the first half was brilliant. Briscoe wasn't so good. Overall, confirms the feel of us being a lucky 4th or 5th place team this year. Somehow ended up second because others stuffed up." And then went Hull FC official though, and then applauds and high fives and all sorts. So gracious in defeat.
Alfie said Bowden, Watts, Green, Minicello.
Sorry. Going back to Bob, I don't know if you've seen it on Twitter, but he did he got his poll out.
Yes.
Over which,
Emma loves it when Dr. Bob gets his poll out.
Some good polls. This week's was which parent does his daughter look most like, and I have to say she's certainly your child, Bob. I'm certainly have no doubts, but she definitely has a look of Bob Phillips. Absolutely, yeah.
Emma enjoys finding out things about Dr. Bob Phillips.
I know, it gives you these little
like he has a daughter. That was exciting for loads of stuff. We'll
have to bring Emma along to an SLP meetup so she can meet Dr. Bob Phillips.
She's got no interest in attending a rugby league game though. So,
but if we dangle Bob Phillips on the end of a stick for her.
But potentially.
Who knows?
Yeah. I'm sure Alfie didn't mind being held up for Dr. Bob, because
not at all.
He loves him as much as we do. But anyway, Alfie says, Bowden, Watts, Green, Minicello, Taylor all took a leaf out of what John Bateman does week in, week out by simply refusing to hit the deck easily when bringing up the ball. Too many players in the modern game suffer from habituation of finding the floor too quickly in order to get a quick play of the ball. Not Hull FC today. On the back of this, they were able to play hot potato and rip Leeds apart. Congrats, Hull FC.
Yes, Liam Parker got in touch and said, "Now then lads, absolutely love the show. First time I've ever contacted. Been watching FC all my life and travel down from uni in Edinburgh to follow them every week. I can honestly say that was the most complete performance I've ever seen from a Hull forward pack. Scott Taylor and Liam Watts were unplayable at times, and Mini had his best game of the season. Credit to Maguire too, could still walk into most Super League teams." Well, thank you for getting in touch, Liam. That's fabulous. It's always a thrill.
Make sure you become a regular contributor Spreaker, because that's a good insight.
Yeah, very much so.
And a nice bit of balance there as well.
Yeah.
At the end, we like that very much on the Super League pod. Paul O'Brien said, "Great game, well done to Hull on a fantastic result. Thought the referee had a good game."
There you go. Richard A says, "Very entertaining game as a neutral, probably the best I've seen this season."
David Pye says, "Really enjoyed today's semi. It was a great contest and could go either way for the first 60 minutes until Hull pulled away. Great opening 20 by both sides with such great set completions, and it had the feel of a quality product, which I'm obviously happy about. The ref, I felt, had a good game. He tried not to blow at the rucks. He blew early. He would have set, if he blew early, he would have set a precedent and backed himself into a corner to blow all game. I felt this had a positive effect as the players knew it was pointless play acting. It didn't eliminate it, but it did reduce it. Hull looked strong in attack, defence and decision making." This is something actually that we all picked up on when we were chatting about the game on Saturday night, and then more cogently on Sunday on the way to the...
Although somewhat less enthusiastic, I suspect.
On the Wigan game, about the way the referee, basically, by not blowing for stuff, it meant the players who were trying to milk penalties realised... Yeah, and I think more and more this year it's been the trying to milk penalties that's been the most frustrating aspect of it.
Definitely.
So Bentham shut that down. I think he's put himself in the front seat now, hasn't he, for
the final?
For the final,
I suspect so. Yeah, he had a good game, I thought. Rich Wilkinson got in touch. He said, "A hard review to give. I'm not putting it on Briscoe. In the big games, you're as strong as your weakest link. I'm not sure where his career goes from here. Our D 10 metres out was not good enough. When the dust settled, it was rightly pointed out to me that the battle had been lost down the middle. A few things didn't go our way, but non-Leeds fans would say we had some luck. Gutted, but not as much as last season."
Rich Langley said, "Can't speak, so having to use social media and text for communication. Hull just had more desire, it seemed. Leeds scored quality tries, but the Hull players had that extra gear and eventually ran away with it. The Kelly Sneak combo came good when needed. Still emotional. Roll on Wembley."
There you go. AK Steel 69. I always like to just avoid reading this one until the moment I see it, because it always turns me on. "I spent a week studying weather forecasts, hoping for a dry day given Hull's hydrophobic tendencies. As it happens, the soaring Arley birds left the Rhinos wallowing in their own shit. As we suspected, nay hoped, Hull do indeed have a win when it matters mentality this season. Sneed had his best game this season, controlling how and where the game was played, and all the forwards won their individual battles."
Joshua's granddad, John, to other people, said, "The sun shone and everything was a rosy, great game, control by Snide. Snide, I think we decided it was pronounced, didn't we? What's a monster game. Kelly adding the X Factor onto Wembley. Hashtag it's our cup and we're keeping it."
Very good. Tim G Radio said, "How do you mute on Twitter? I kind of localise to whole half of a city. I'm asking for a friend."
Sarah McKenzie said, "A thoroughly enjoyable day and a good game too. I thought Bentham let the game flow. A really well balanced first half before Hull really turned up the heat. Told you we were just lulling them into a false sense of security. Great to meet Dom and Grandad and see Phil and Callie in the distance. Leeds can have the 2 points on the 31st of August. Think our team will still be in the pub celebrating or commiserating."
There you go. The Hodge said, "What else can I say? We were outplayed, out-enthused and out-witted. Hull fully deserved the win and we need to take a serious look at what went wrong. The ref kept the game flowing by letting things go on both sides. On the plus side, £3.50 a pint, and it was lovely to meet the Scoots clan. Time for an SLP family meet-up at Wembley."
Yeah, hopefully. If we're down early enough and we can... What we last time I was down at Wembley, we
were there fairly early, weren't we?
Yeah, it was chucking it down, weren't it, for the Wigan Hull
as I recall,
final.
It was all right though because we were in a pub.
No, we actually ended up going into the stadium early, didn't we? At when the doors opened, pretty much, just because there was nowhere really to go other than walk to those pubs that were already rammed full that aren't that good.
Well, yeah, they were.
But now they have the Sainsbury's just over the way.
They do, which was what some local entrepreneurial types cottoned onto, I think, around that same time though. Could you remember that there was people pushing shopping trolleys full of booze up and down the street selling the cans?
Oh, was there?
Yes, there were.
I don't recall.
Bought a can off one of those little scamps, like one of Fagan's little boys.
It was raining a lot.
It was a rainy day,
as we warned, and Matty Smith kicked him to death, and Joshua Chandler made one of those amazing cover tackles you'll see in a final.
You could say that. Okay, where are we up to?
It's me and it's
you,
Paul
it's Paul Lewis.
Great game, but I thought the result would be much closer, especially considering Leeds played their under-8s last week and Hull's injury-ravaged squad.
Yes, well, they were struggling, weren't they?
They were. They had a full squad to pick from, as Radford made clear. In the end, I was really pleased for the Ace Hull fans who listened to the show, but also gutted for the fantastic Leeds fans who listened to. Damn you, SLP, for making me feel things in games that don't involve witness or our snake charming neighbours.
Yeah, I don't want to make you feel feelings, Paul, don't worry. John Hamilton got in touch and said, amazing first half, balanced on a knife edge, but in the end, Leeds just couldn't keep up with the Hull team who played brilliant rugby league. Some great efforts from the likes of Maguire, Watkins and Hall, but the forwards were pushed around too easily. Briscoe was bad, but Fanua won't be wanting to see Ryan Hall again soon. Great finish to the match from Hull. I hope they win the final.
Yeah, and then Brendan Loftus at BP Loftus said, as a Hull fan, I was more hopeful than confident, but I was really impressed with the performance. It looked like Leeds were going to have one of those days with their 2 Hall tries, as he did great to score them both, and they were running lots at our halves. Bowden did great when he came on, and Ellis was a great leader in those times when Leeds got a roll on with some great tackles. Man of the match, Liam Watts, but won't get near England.
There you go. So what did you make of the game then?
Well, before we talk about the game, I'm going to jump back to Sarah's thing and say about Leeds can have the 2 points on the 31st of August. What she needs to realise is the entire Leeds first team were arrested the week before that game.
Yes.
So that gives Hull an advantage.
It does, doesn't it? This is the thing. Look, I was expecting it to be a closer thing, and at times it was a close game. But Hull were just, as everyone has alluded to, they were winning. They were dominant in the forward battles. It felt like they were making a ton more metres. Their halves clicked more consistently. Albert Kelly brought that surprising. Well, he brought the element of surprise, which Leeds. If I felt that Leeds were more robotic in the halves, so you could kind of manage them more easily. And I think they were tremendously good value for the win. I don't think it would. By the end of it, the scoreline was a fair reflection of one side's dominance.
I think the thing for Leeds is, I mean, they only made 15 offloads, which is a low figure for Leeds. I think they were controlled around that area, both by the way Hull were carrying the ball and the way they were defending. But Leeds' complete lack of structure meant that they weren't pulling out any sort of real role, like set after set, sort of building pressure. Ryan Hall's first try, absolutely incredible. Ryan Hall's second try probably didn't get it down, in my opinion.
I think you might be right,
but anyway, the Robert Hicks video referee to the video referee handbook, which is if you're not certain and it's gone up a try.
The second one is the one where he was like
from the Watkins run across the field and the kick through. I thought Callum Watkins in attack was pretty decent. There was the chance that he missed in the first half where Maguire and Briscoe were sort of around him when they made that break down the side. But stuff like that, you see, they didn't go back to trying to exploit those spaces at the end of sets out wide. They didn't go. Anytime something worked for Leeds, they didn't really go back to it. I can't think of any other high kicks to Fanua that were there for Hall to be able to challenge either, because the second one was a low kick, obviously. That's long. There was the hilarious Fanua error where he dropped the ball against the goalpost, and that was as bad as any mistake Briscoe made, but because Hull turned around in the lead at half time, I don't think much was made of it, but that was frankly awful. But yeah, the story of the first half was Briscoe can't catch, and Hull got away with come on, spade forward pass.
Yes, it was. Yeah, it was a forward pass. But then they came out in the second half and engineered themselves to a point where they could have that 10-15 minute blitz of Leeds Rhinos and just blew them away. And that's what a team that gets on this kind of a role capable of doing.
Well, I think they gave themselves the opportunities for that in the first half with the way they played, but they didn't quite put the hammer down. I mean, Tumavarve's trying in the first half showed what was going to happen, what was to come, which was that straightening up. Even though that went through both the halfbacks, just the power of meeting the ball, and what Hull FC did incredibly through most of this game, particularly after about 15 minutes or so in the game, was hit the ball that was coming to them either from the halfbacks or from the dummy half at ridiculous pace, and keep that momentum going through into the tackle. So whilst they were fighting for extra yards and staying up, they were also still getting fast play of the balls because of the incision and power of that line running. I think the first player who stood out for me in their forward pack in the first half was Seeker Manu. I thought he was the best one for the first 20 minutes or so, or maybe 25 minutes or so.